Peace, y'all. I hope you're well today. I am currently in Cape Town, South Africa, and this place has been absolutely amazing. It's quite rainy today, which I'm from Florida, so I actually really like the rain, but I'm used to a very tropical rain when it does rain because I live in New York usually, so I'm on the East Coast. And the rain there is just warmer. Here it's quite cold, so it's definitely something I have to bear with. But the environment here is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. The people are so kind. So I want to talk to you today about bad habits and their messages to us. So I was having a conversation with a friend last night about drinking alcohol. So I don't drink alcohol, and the reason being is that every single time I have had it in the past, I just never feel completely healthy afterward. And then I started looking into it, and there really is nothing healthy about it. And some people will tell you, oh, having a glass of red wine a day is healthy, or things like that, and talk about the resveratrol. But I don't think any amount of alcohol is ever healthy. I never feel 100% after having it. And that's not to judge anyone who does enjoy drinking. I think we all have our own bodies and our own decisions with those bodies. So I encourage you to do what you feel is right, you think is right, and that's that. But we were on this topic and we were talking about just the way that it made me feel, and she was expressing to me also she feels like she's in that stage where she's now ready to give up alcohol as well, and for the same reasons, where she feels like it's nice to have in a social setting, but also she doesn't like being around people who need it to really show themselves. And that to me was a key point, because it kind of gets to the point of maybe the bad habit of drinking consistently, or the bad habit of drinking too much when you do drink, is a symptom, right? Is a symptom of something we are running away from. And I think it's important whenever we do have a bad habit, this is just one example, whenever we do have a bad habit, that we examine what the actual root is. So the people, and if this is you, I am not here to degrade you, to make you feel bad or anything like that. I just want to let you know it's not anything personal. And it's not coming from a place of judgment, because I do understand the root of most, if not all, human behavior. So it's never coming from a place like that. So with that habit, you have to question. Alcohol comes with a loss of consciousness. So to any degree that you're having it, you start to lose your consciousness. And there's actually, I think it is a Buddhist saying that my friend, he's Mongolian, was telling me about, that when you do things that alter your consciousness, there is a saying that there's a small warrior in your heart, and he guards the doors of your heart. And when you give him these things, he can no longer guard those doors, and so he falls asleep. And because now he is also inebriated or sleeping, then the gates of your heart are open for all of these bad things to come in, which is, another reason why alcohol is called something like a spirit and entering the body. So that's why sometimes you'll see people who lose their consciousness do crazy things when they are on these substances. And it's because they have put that poor little warrior who just wants to help us, protect us, to sleep. Because oftentimes when we do these things, we're running from something else. There's a deeper unmet need that we haven't satisfied, that we feel like, because it's not going to be met, the best thing to do is to suppress it and to drink and to cover it. And oftentimes I feel like we have not met those parts of ourselves with the tools that we need to integrate them all of the time. So I really just want to touch on the fact that they're always messengers. any bad habit is always a messenger and a reflection of something else. So when it comes to this, or drinking in a social setting, or particularly with drinking, I just feel like this is the easiest example right now. Particularly with drinking, I have noticed that many people will drink not because they want to, but because other people around them are doing it. And because we're social creatures, a part of our limbic system tells us that we need to fit in to survive. So we're going to try to adhere to our group and fit in with that. Sometimes we drink just to make ourselves feel like we belong to something. So even that, the core of that would maybe be a sense of belonging and self-worth that we're lacking, so we're not able to address it. Another reason might just be a deep loss, a deep need for love that we feel like we are not going to have met anytime soon, so we just need to cover it. Sometimes it's anger, and the organ specific to that will be damaged much more quickly via alcohol is the liver. So a lot of people who hold, so it's been proven that emotions actually are very deeply tied to different parts of our body, tissues in our body. So a lot of illnesses and disease start in the mind and the heart, and then they manifest in the body, in certain organs and things like that. So the liver is directly associated with anger and drinking, and that's why you always see that correlation as well. So when you get down to these things, you have to question, why am I doing this? Like, say your bad habit is overeating. I had that habit for a long time where I would just be eating too much, and eating when I was not hungry, or eating to the point that I was past full. And I realized part of that was because I had trauma from a family member when I was younger telling me all of the time that I was anorexic, that I looked like, okay, we used to play Call of Duty Zombies all of the time, Black Ops, and he told me that I looked like a crawler from Black Ops. If y'all have played that game, if you have not, actually maybe I'll insert a picture over here, because who do you say that to? You don't tell people they look like crawlers. It's insane. But even things like that, where I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm not eating enough, I'm too skinny, I'm too this, I'm too that. And then I feel like it was amplified when I started modeling, just because it kind of went to the opposite end of the spectrum. Because personally, first I was told you're too skinny by all of the people I was around growing up. And then when I started modeling, I was told I was too big by all of the people that I was around in New York. So there's just all these different perceptions with food and with eating, that I had to get to the point where I really paced myself, and I was conscious of why I was consuming when I was consuming. Because I realized sometimes it was just an emotional thing, or feeling like I was being judged by people outside of myself for the way that I looked in certain ways. So I had to really, really sit down with myself and notice, okay, was this a trigger for me just now that I felt this emotion? And when I felt this emotion, what was my reaction? Okay, that was my reaction. It was maybe to eat something that I didn't really want to eat, or was against my best interest to eat. And then decide, okay, well, I know now that my trigger is this and my response is this. So how can I first slow and then mitigate the response? And for me, it came to breathing, meditation, yoga, things like that. So I got to the point where instead of going straight to the impulse, when I have that impulse, I notice it, I breathe deeply, and I do something else. I could do yoga, I could meditate, I could pick up my pencil and draw something. That was my rule for a long time, was just draw something little, even if it's small, draw for 10 minutes. And doing that made me realize that it was much more mental than it was physical. And if we have the power to stop ourselves in those moments and just take a minute to evaluate and ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? What's wrong? Because you're talking from a child self or your wise adult self. And one of them is throwing a fit, and the other one is your true self, wants what's best for you. So it's important to always stop yourself in those moments and say, which one am I talking from right now? What voices in my head? What feelings are in my body? Are they coming from my wise adult self, or are they coming from this temperamental child who has these experiences that I now need to integrate? And even when it comes to integration, it's so important to just have these moments of quiet and stillness with yourself to really feel. Even if the feelings don't make sense, just allow them all to come forward, whether that be crying, anger, whatever. Take a moment to yourself. Punch a pillow if you have to punch a pillow. Scream into the pillow, cry into the pillow. Use some sort of inanimate object, even though all objects are connected to us indefinitely, and the atoms in them also have consciousness. That's another video. Use an object to release what you're feeling. Do not let it stay in your body, because then it just turns. Imagine having all of those emotions stored up in a little bottle, and then just keep pushing more and more and more and more into the bottle. One day it's going to explode. So instead of that, we're going to notice when the bottle starts to get frothy. Take the top off, let the air come out, let it bubble over if it needs to, and then allow it to sit. And then discern what's going on. Why did that just happen? Because we have to know ourselves through and through, or we're going to allow other people to cause us to react in all of these ways. We don't want to react. We don't want to reacting is acting the same way that you did again. Reacting. We don't want to react. We want to respond, because we want to show up differently this time. So it's important that we do it with deep breathing. It's so underrated. Deep breathing and awareness of why we are activated, what happened to us to make us feel like we are endangered in these moments, and then push through in that way. And now I'm at a point in my own life where there's nothing that I want more than full consciousness. Life is so beautiful, and there's so many blessings all around, all of the time. Literally, if we just pay attention and look for them. So part of this presence process that I use daily is just writing the synchronicities that I see on a daily basis. So even in journaling, when I journal every night, I write down all of the things that I saw that day, but I was like, oh, okay, that's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. I saw this 3 times today. They literally mentioned this, or this person messaged me, and I was just thinking about them today. So I think there's certain things that happen where the universe is kind of like, hey, are you paying attention? Hey, I love you. Did you see that? And just being part of that magic is absolutely amazing. So I make sure to note those things, because then I'm able to tie things back together at the end of the day. Because also through day to day, having last minute calls for castings, for bookings, running around the city, errands, all these different things, it gets very crazy. So it gives me peace at the end of the day and grounds me down a lot when I'm able to just sit and look back at all of the things that happened through the day. So that is super helpful. And I think the most important thing is that just because something presents itself to you as a bad feeling does not mean that it's bad. And sometimes that's tricky, trying to differentiate intuition from the bad feeling, because it takes practice and it takes a lot of awareness. But what I mean by that is we have a lot of defense mechanisms and trauma responses that come from the inner child, who has certain defense mechanisms in place to keep us safe. So when those are triggered, then we're trying to fight to survive internally, even though it's not logically something that we need to do in this moment in time. So it's really important to be very conscious of your thoughts and be aware of where everything is coming from, Even if you don't know in that moment, just catch the thought and question. Ask a question, well, why do I think that? Who told me that? Why is this my go-to? Why am I drinking so much? Why can't I keep my promises to myself? Because the most important thing about the promises that we make to ourselves is that builds a foundation for trust. And the only way that we can be confident in ourselves is if we are able to trust ourselves. Without that trust, you cannot build confidence. So that comes from day-to-day routines, as simple as oil pulling every morning or every night, and then what time you brush your teeth. Like very little things you can start to build on, where you know, okay, I'm consistently going to show up for myself in this way. I'm going to make my bed every single morning because I know it's nice to come home and I have a clean room. I have a clean bed. I'm going to clean all my dishes because even though it sucks in that moment, I know that when I get home and I see everything is clean, I just feel good. I just feel light. Because without the clutter, your mind feels better. And the subconscious mind can also say, okay, we're in a safe state. You can relax better. So all of these things are self-care in a way of discipline. Because ultimately, discipline is the most radical form of self-care that we can practice. And the reason being is that I love myself so much, I'm going to make sure that I succeed and I'm good. So the way to do that is through disciplining myself and making sure I'm showing up when I say I'm going to show up. I'm on time. I'm completing my tasks. I'm holding integrity in what I'm doing, and I'm holding integrity with other people. So it's a combination of everything, but your bad habits will absolutely give you definite signs of where you need improvement if you just really sit with them and question where they came from in the first place. And it also takes a lot of writing and a lot of journaling, because then you're able to see, okay, this is how I really feel about that. This is why I feel that way. And just taking the moment to be raw with yourself. That is the one place you should feel absolutely, completely safe, is sitting with yourself and just being. And it's such a hard and uncomfortable state to get to. It's just being, putting everything on the paper, even if it's something that you don't like, without thinking, just writing it all out. Because then we actually get to learn who we are. And then we get to learn the parts of ourselves that maybe, okay, I see this now and I really want to get better. Because if not, we're just putting band-aids on bullet wounds, as I say. Because the concept is, if you get shot and you leave the bullet in your shoulder, then ultimately, you know, you put a band-aid on it and it's just going to fester, it's going to bubble, it's going to get infected, it's not going to heal. And ultimately it's going to cause more issues in your arm that probably are rotting and things that'll spread. It might hit your central nervous system, since it's so close to your spinal cord, and cause an array of issues involving your brain and everything else. But instead of doing that because you're scared of, okay, it's gonna hurt if I take it out, you embrace the pain, which is a temporary pain of taking it out, rather than sitting with the long, terrible, horrendous, probably gonna eat your whole body up type pain of just leaving the bullet in. So the idea of discipline there with yourself is just pulling it out and allowing it to heal. Don't cover the wound with Ciroc and vodka and brandy and all of these things, right? Hennessy, or whatever else people drink, I don't know. Don't cover the wound with all of these alcohols, right? Remove the bullet. Really sit with yourself sober-mindedly. Remove the bullet, whatever that bullet is, and allow yourself to be and express your true nature, because you're beautiful, you're talented, you are gifted, and everything that you have experienced up until this point has been for a reason. So it has only grown you and pushed you more toward your purpose. And I want to see everybody grow, and I want to see everybody achieve what each of us is here to specifically achieve, because we all play different parts. Many voices to one chorus, thousands of pieces to one puzzle. Everybody has their own purpose. So, thank y'all for joining. See you next time.